chefs and the tastemakers, and it is definitely a bit of spice we're bringing you now. 6 months ago, Mahal Tabchilli turned his passion into a reality and opened Tabchilli. It's a unique concept because it only sells one type of product: fermented foods. And you brought some in. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm a little bit nervous to try your products, to be honest. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Where did your love... This is never a sentence I thought I'd say. Where did your love of fermentation come from?
So fermentation or preservation is kind of really old school. It goes back to many thousand years. And you have it in every single household from your mother or grandmother. It was used to actually preserve vegetables over seasons, right? So I looked at from my mother, my grandmother, even my culture. Every culture has one. And it's something that you grow up with and you like seeing. But what people don't know is actually fermented food bring many different beneficial bacteria which are important for the gut.
Do you know what? We were speaking recently about that mind-gut connection, about the microbiome in your gut.
Correct.
And there seems to be more and more evidence about exactly that. Fermented foods, whether that is, some kombucha or fermented kind of dairy and yogurt.
Correct.
Really, why? I still not really understand what actually happens in our gut when we have these foods and why it can ultimately even make us happier.
Yeah. So I'm not a scientist to really explain what it means, but I'm going to explain in simple terms. So you got something called prebiotics and probiotics. Prebiotics are actually the vegetables that you eat to feed the probiotics, which are the gut bacteria in your gut. So like vegetables, artichoke, bananas, you eat those to feed those bacteria. But probiotics are actually those bacteria that are beneficial for you in your gut. And you can find them as well in fermented foods like kimchi, kombucha, even my product Tabchilli. So everything is about really promoting the health of your gut because it acts as your second brain.
It's one thing to have a thing for, as you're saying, kind of the tradition. It's another thing to start doing it yourself. Was this a bit of a lockdown project?
So, before, of course, it was kind of a lockdown project because I used to travel a lot. I used to work in Latin America, in India. I was always on a plane in Europe. I never really had time to really stop and think. And when it was lockdown, I started fermenting for a long time. I like fermenting for 1 week, 2 months, and 6 months, and I love chili. So I started fermenting chili. And as you know, like when you have 1 jar, 2 jars, and 10 jars, and 20 jars in the kitchen, your wife starts saying, hey, what's happening over there? So, it became something of a passion, and eventually I opened Tabchilli because Tabchilli is definitely fermented chili, but it's also a sensory retail shop where my mission is really simple: to nourish your food, body, and mind by bringing the education of fermentation to every single household.
You're doing workshops as well, so people can come in and learn how to do this themselves.
Yeah, exactly. So my space is in Al Wasl, but definitely for me, it's about sharing the knowledge. Many people know about fermentation, but not everybody wants to apply. I'm doing weekly workshops where I share all the knowledge of fermented food. And basically, I teach about vegetable fermentation, how you make your kimchi, your hot sauce, how to apply any kind of technique to it to really ferment anything at home. Because what makes fermentation interesting is individual. You don't cook anything. You let the bacteria do the cooking.
Let's talk about the hows, because how is it different to pickling?
Okay, so the reason why I really launched Tabchilli was that today, if you look at hot sauces, most of them have vinegars, right? They have a recipe where people create them and they have great flavor. But once you put vinegar, and remember, vinegar is sterile. You use vinegar to kill the bacteria. So once you use vinegar in any product, you're actually promoting the shelf life, correct? But you're killing the healthy gut bacteria, which are probiotics. So in fermentation, you don't use vinegar. You use salt. It's a slower process. It takes more time, but it produces 2 things: more flavor, and definitely keeps those healthy probiotics, bacteria that are beneficial for you.
So how long? You said there a week, 2 weeks, 6 months. What happens in terms of the flavor profile the longer you are leaving something to ferment?
So that's kind of interesting question because, good things happen to those who wait. That's kind of in fermentation. So basically in fermentation, you're waiting for the bacteria really to give that flavor coming out. So for example, wine. Why do you ferment wine for a long time? Because you're waiting slowly for this aroma to build up. And same thing with vegetable fermentation. You can accelerate the process, or you can control different metrics like temperature, pH to really get that flavor over time. So you can wait 6 months. It's going to taste different than 1 year, and all becomes a perfect process.
When you say different, is it stronger? Is it more sour or salty? Do you think you could tell?
Yeah, so basically it depends on what you are fermenting. Okay. So for example, if you're fermenting, for example, chili, whatever you put in that single jar where you're fermenting salt, it can change texture. It can change the aroma. It can become more sour, more tangy. Different kind of flavor notes will come up. So whatever you put inside is going to change that. And that's what's beautiful about it.
Now, you have brought in some tabchilli, as you said, jar of fermented chili, and a beautiful spoon, by the way, beautiful pottery spoon. So in this jar, and because we're not on Facebook Live, I'm going to describe, it's a really vibrant orange red. And it's kind of is it a paste once you open it? Talk us through what is inside and what you put in to ultimately get this product.
So let me share with you why this love project came to be. So first of all, I bring my chili all the way from Thailand because I want them for a specific heat. Then what I do is when I ferment, you have to use salt. And I use a specific salt, fleur de sel, which is the skimming of the salt sponge, which is the purest kind of salt for fermenting. Eventually, in apple tastes different than in here in Georgia, UK. Why? Because you're paying for the soil. Mm-hmm. Every single ingredient you put can change the texture and savor. I ferment for about 3 months, but then I go ahead, triple filter it, and extract the liquid, keep it as a paste. But what I do is I infuse with olive oil. Why olive oil? Because olive oil locks out the air, so it still ferments. So my product doesn't have vinegar, but over time, it's going to still keep fermenting. And the only way for you to lock the fermentation is to keep it in the fridge because you will lock that flavor at that specific point of time.
So what am I doing with it, Maha? I'm going to take this home tonight. Yeah. And you've got to bear in mind, I am not so good with the spice. Okay. So what would this work well with?
So Helen, I managed to convert my wife to eat it. So
okay, I'll report back.
So report back to me. So basically what's interesting about this is that the flavor really depends on how much you put and what you put it on. Mm-hmm. That's what's interesting. So even some concepts I'm doing is introducing tabchilli from appetite to dessert, but all depends.
Dessert?
Yes, we had some few dishes and some pop-ups I did were quite interesting with vanilla scud. But all I'm saying is that if you put a big spoonful, it's going to be quite hot. But if you put less hot. But what's interesting is the flavor notes that you get throughout. And that's what fermentation brings. So it won't be one single vinegary, soury flavor, but you'll experience a plethora of flavors that you can really add in different kind of ways to your
What are some of your favorite ways to incorporate it? Give us some recipe or flavor combinations.
So I want to say on everything, but eventually it goes well with different kind of cheeses. Definitely it goes well with some salad dressings. If you use it with salad dressing, just a teaspoon. We as well use it for different marinades and also on the side. Mm-hmm. So it really depends on what you want. As a spice lover, usually looking for heat. What's interesting about my product is that the heat is slow and steadily built. So it's delivered very slowly, like a mouthful, like a complex wine. And that's what brings that kind of culinary experience to fermentation.
A message here from Kelvin saying, read the workshops. Are they private? Are they groups? Tell us about the workshops.
So the workshop, what I want to bring is I want to bring like-minded people to come together and really, first of all, talk about fermentation and really...
You want to find your fellow fermenting nerds.
Exactly.
We want to make like a laboratory, like alchemy.
So it's if you come to my shop, you think it's like an alchemy session.
Really?
I got like a Breaking Bad wall, all of red chili over there. But my workshops are not private. You can just check out my link. They're all posted once every week, and eventually anybody can come. And what's nice is that people are leaving as friends because it's kind of a cool activity to come in and you leave with your creations. So you take home what you did, and as well would follow up on how to ferment more things to come.
So, as you said, it's just chilies right now. Are you planning to broaden out, or are you going to keep purist?
So, I want to keep purist because eventually sourdough is fermented, right? You have wine fermented, beer fermented. I really want to keep my passion to one thing, but I really want to share the knowledge. Why don't you make kimchi? Why don't you make sauerkraut? I can make sauerkraut and kimchi, but what if I taught you how to make your own, which is much more rewarding, mm-hmm. and plus you make your own signature one. Mm-hmm. So for now, I'm going to be purist. Maybe later on, who knows?
What do the kids make of it? Have they sampled Dad's fermented chili?
So my daughter was my number one sampler, and she gave approval to go live. And to
Kids are brutal. So they would tell you straight as well.
Yeah. So my son is the naysayer. My daughter is a yay-sayer. And every time she takes a spoonful and she takes like 3 cups of yogurt afterwards, she would drown it down.
Oh.
But it's a learning process, I guess.
So for anyone that wants to reach out to you, obviously, if they're in the mood to learn, to do a workshop or to come in and taste and buy and take home, what's the best way of getting in touch? Remind us again of a location.
Yeah, so first of all, my location is in Al Wasl Mall. I'm there open every day from 9 to 10.
You've got some nice neighbours there, some good foodie spots in that mall.
Correct, there is. And eventually it's kind of convenient for people to walk in and to see it. And the reason why I opened this shop, Helen, is because I want people to see with transparency everything I'm doing. All my ingredients, all my processes there, but the only thing is time. So you learn that with time, you can make your own chili, your own kimchi, and it's going to be a signature thing.
Message from Galia saying, how to get in touch with the chili company? Super simple. It is exactly what it says on the box, tabchilli.com. You can send me the chili emoji. You can send me the word chili. I'd be very happy to send over the links. You can check you out. You off to the shop now?
Yeah, yes, I am.
And is your wife relieved that the science experiments are out of your home and in the shop now?
She's relieved that the shop is near the house, so she can always keep an eye on me. So.
Well, I will report back, because
okay.
I have to say, I saw that and I was like, I bet that'd be really nice. Like a kind of manchego cheese, a little kind of biscuit. But I love the idea of, could you use it in cooking? Could you stir it into sauces as well?
And I have my recipes as well on the website, so you can check them out and I can send them to you. Definitely, it's very versatile.
Thank you so much for your time. And indeed, the generous gift. I'll report back if I can see through my streaming eyes to type you a message. But I love the idea of a workshop, and I love the idea of this mind-gut connection. So congrats on the new venture.
Thank you.
It sounds like it's come from a real passion, and we're the ones that are enjoying the products. But as I said, if you want details, send me a message. You just say chili. You can send me the chili emoji. Say hot, hot, hot. I will send you the link.